Vocals, Part 2. Let's get it. So we started off setting up your mic pre, and your mic pre plugins. Also, now you know where to set up your levels on Pro Tools or whatever DAW you use. Now, in part 2, we're going to learn about noise reduction, or at least how I do it, how I level my vocals with clip gain, and how I set up my crossfades to make each take sound natural. So let's start off with noise reduction. Again, here's a track with my vocal with a lot of noise or background noise going on. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. This is a test. This is only a test. This may not sound that bad right now, but let's put on some compression to really bring out the vocal. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. This is a test. This is only a test. Now, we can hear all the nuance of the vocal, including the noise in the background, and that takes the attention away from the actual vocal. So what can we do to clean this up? So that way, when you EQ or compress or limit, you're only doing so to the core of the vocal, to the sound only of the vocal, and not the noise in the background. So let me introduce Brush Free. This is something I use and have been using for a while to really clean up vocals so I can get them as close as possible to the listener, whether it be in a song or one of my YouTube videos. So first things first, let's pull up the plugin. Now the factory default in this plugin is a great starting point. If you look on the left-hand side of the plugin, right under the name, you can see the version that you have, which makes it really easy to see if you have the latest version by checking the website. Now this will be a cool feature for Clever to add. If you could click on the version number and it takes you to the website so you can verify if you have the latest version, or if the version number changed colors, maybe to red or yellow, and right beside it, it says update available. That would be a really nice feature. But let's carry on. Next is the look ahead. I always keep that on. Reason being, because once the plugin learns what to take out, it can now look ahead and work more smoothly in accomplishing that process. So look ahead stays on. And right below that is the attack, threshold, and release. For me, I never mess with the attack and release, but I do mess with the threshold. And I'll show you more of that when we get rid of the noise in the vocal. Now to the right of that is the learn function, or button, I guess you can call. All you do is hold it and it captures the noise that you want to take out. And to the right of that is the smooth knob. Now I do mess with this a lot. Most times I put it on 100%, but sometimes 50% or 0 even works. You just gotta mess with it. And then they have a sidechain high pass filter. I keep that on the default 50 Hertz. The treble, I never mess with that, though it's on 1.5 dB, seems to work fine. And the only other thing I mess with is the gain knob, and I level match, but that's only if I need to. So overall, this plugin is incredibly easy to use. Let me show you exactly what I do, how I use it, and what it accomplishes. So the first thing you want to do is capture the noise or the sound of your room. You can do it on a separate track or do it on the main track. Either way works. So let's capture the noise on this track. So as you can see, it's capturing it, but make sure you let it go. Check 1, check 2, before the vocal, of course. We only want to capture the noise. So let's listen again to see exactly what it took away. Now this is on, then off, Wait, did you hear that? Let me play it again. Sounds like the mic jiggled, or maybe I hit the mic stand. So let me loop that, since that's a little bit louder than the preamp and mic noise, and I'm too lazy to edit it out. Or I just didn't catch it. Okay, so it looks like 41% takes out not only the noise, but that little bump in the mic. So now, let's listen to it with the vocal. Check 1, check 2. And now with smooth at 100%. Check 1, check 2. I kind of like it without smooth. Let me try it at 50%. Check 1, check 2. Yeah, on this one, I don't think I need smooth. The fidelity of the vocal is still there, but now without the noise. And this plugin is very low on CPU, so most times I just keep it on the track. But if your computer is not as powerful as mine, then you can record this on another track. Or you can commit it or freeze it, however you want to do it. It's a great plugin. Check it out. So let's move on. As I was recording my vocal, I noticed some pops, some clicks. I'm going to show you how to get rid of that. So here's the vocal in question. It's not as powerful as mine. You hear that? On mine. Listen carefully. It's not as powerful as mine. So let me pull up some tools and see which tool is best for this, as I have a few of them. Mine, 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 mine. Mine, 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 mine. So in this case, to me, the Untitled RX7 plugin worked the best. So I would probably go with that one. But the Waves VX did very well. It just seems like with the Waves VX, the quality came down too much, but the RX7 kept the quality. So I'm always making sure that I go with the best plugin for the job. Now, I'm sure that Untilted's RX8, RX9, and now the RX10, the new version, sounds a little bit or a lot better. It's just that I hardly ever run into this issue. So for me, a declipping plugin is a rarity. And so I don't usually put my money into something that I hardly use. Now, do I use RX7? Yes, but for other things. But that's a whole nother video. Okay, so now that we got rid of the noise and some clicking, next is clip gain, fades, and crossfades. So let's look at my settings for crossfades and fades. So let's go to Setup, Preferences, then the Editing tab. Now, I always have Preserve Fades when editing checked, Auto Accept Adjust Bounds checked. I always use the Smart 2 fade adjustment to be always on, and I'll show you how to do that. And let's click in Fade In. That's under the default settings, because these are my default settings for fade in and fade out. Now, you can see that I use a S-curve. It's the 5th one from the top, and I do the same for the fade out. They both have the shape of equal gain, and once I change this, anytime I highlight to do a fade and just click F, or for you, sometimes you may click Command F, the fade will automatically use this fade as a default. As for crossfades, I kept it at the default setting. Now, I know what you're saying. What does this have to do with mixing? Just stick with me. So now, let's go back to the vocal. Let's mute the compressor and let's put this in edit mode. Now, when I'm doing this process, the only thing I want to see is the track names, the record, solo, mute, and the in and out. The reason why I want to see the in and out is because I want to be able to gauge exactly where the vocal is hitting level-wise. So why is that important? Well, if we look at the volume, we can see it's at 0. But if you hold Command and click it, it changes to delay. And if you click it again, it changes to peak. That's what we want. So let go of Command and just click on the peak. So that resets it. So now when we play a vocal, it'll tell us where the peak level is. And now we go into clip gain and we turn a vocal that's all over the place into a vocal that's more controlled, easier to handle. And through this process, this will turn your vocal into a professional sounding, controlled, in-your-face vocal. Now, do I do this all the time? No. If the vocals were recorded really well, there is no need to do this. But in most cases, people are recording in their bedrooms or in closets, hallways, random rooms, outside. So the vocal levels tend to be all over the place. And this is a great way for you to take control of it before going into the next step. So let me show you this real quick. Check 1, check 2. The first thing I'm looking for, check 1, is the highest peaks. Check 2. This is a test. This is only a test. Okay, great. So the highest peak is minus 15.9 dB, which is a great level to be at. So the first thing I'm going to do is split up each part. And to do this and do it really fast, make sure AZ is selected and go through each part and cut them, selecting the letter B. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. This is a test. This is only a test. Now that you have them broken up in parts and you have your Smart tool on, you'll be able to edit this really fast within 2 steps. Let me show you. First, go to the middle of the waveform. Once you do that, your cursor will change into the trim tool. Now, before you slide this to the breath of the vocal, make sure you're in grid mode, and that's over here. I always have mine set to absolute grid. Now, you can set it how you want to, but that just works for me. Now, let's pull this back until we get to the beginning of the breath of the vocal, or if there is no breath, up into the actual vocal. Now, in this case, there is no breath in the first line of this vocal, but, and let me be clear, the breath before the vocal is a key point to making everything sound natural. So if you come across a vocal that is close to each other and the singer and or rapper has a breath in between each word, when you cut between those 2 words and do fades, make sure that you don't cut too much off of that breath unless you're looking for that style. But usually that style makes the vocal sound more mechanical than realistic. Even after a vocal, most of the articulation of each word is at the end of a word. So it's very important that you keep the natural feel of that vocalist. Okay, now let's get back to it. So now that we have the trim tool, let's dial it back into the vocal, leaving a little bit of room. Check 1. Then let's do the same for the output of that. Check 1. Now let's do a fade in and a fade out. And to do that, just take your cursor to the top left-hand corner of the audio file and you'll see that it changes to a fade tool. And then you just click and drag for fade in and do the same on the top right-hand corner for fade out. And after that, it's just rinse and repeat. Here, I'll show you. Check 1, check 2, check 1, check 2. This is a test. This is only a test. So now it sounds and looks like this. Check 1, check 2, check 1, check 2. This is a test. This is only a test. Now, the final part of this is clip gain. And to show clip gain, go to View, Clip, and go down to Clip Gain Line. Go ahead and select that, and now you'll see a line through your audio. And now you have control over the volume, and this volume control is before any plugins. So now mute all the plugins on that track, and let's gain stage each part to the volume or level that you would like to go into plugins. And for me, that's -12. I'm not picky, -13 is fine, -14, even -11, -10, -9, just as long as it doesn't go over -6. And the reason for that, if I decide to use an analog style plugin, I don't have to worry about overloading that plugin and it distorting or saturating too much. And then I find myself going back and forth with the volume gain. I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste any time. So it's best for me to have a consistent volume going into all plugins. So now let's go ahead and set the levels to -12. So first, let's reset the peak volume and then play the first audio clip. Check 1. And as we can see, it's -13.4 dB. So we're going to raise that 1.4 dB to make it -12. Let's do that now. Check 1. And now our peak level is at -12, exactly where we want it. And we want to do that to each clip. So that way it's consistent. So when we're going into whatever EQ we're going into, or compressor or saturator, we know we're not overloading that process, which then helps us work faster. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you on part 3.